that information right there. March reflects strong on-time performance, and that's just based on the previous, the 3 months that we were talking about. That's what that number comes from. So we're steadily increasing our on-time performance as documented and shown here. And again, like I said, the last slide, that we're continuously seeing days greater than 70% on our on-time performance if we're looking at individual days.
Remind me again why we can't control early departures. Is it because we're blocking traffic? Is it what? Why can't we have our operators know that I'm supposed to depart here at 5:55? Can we do that rather than leave early? What keeps us from being able to do that?
The operator themselves. These are choices that the operators are making.
In part.
In part, but with the supervision, when we're looking at items like this, we're able to pinpoint and target what routes are having these issues, and we're able to put a supervisor in that area to monitor that area to address those situations as they arise. So going from 14% to 12% in just 3 months.
Yeah,
I
was just thinking of it in the terms of one of the clear identifiable expectations. I would think that an operator's like, I'm leaving this stop number.
Mm-hmm.
This stop number I'm supposed to leave. It might be something on their app or whatever that says you got a minute before you're leaving on time or whatever. But if they're not monitoring that, then I can see this. I can see how these numbers happen. I'm just wondering if there's something that very simply says 30 seconds before you're on time, or 3 minutes you're leaving 3 minutes early.
Right. There is on the bus. They have their duty cards, which shows where they're supposed to be at what time. The system on the bus lets them know if they're early or late, and then we can monitor that in internal.
But they can't just stop necessarily. I mean, I'm sure you're only doing this at certain stops.
Correct.
But like if one of those stops is in through traffic.
Right. So one of the teaching points in my experience, I've been with another agency, is coaching and training the operators on how to adjust their time. And the biggest thing is, well, the speed limit is 35. I got to go 35. I say that's a speed limit, not a speed must. You could adjust your speed, and over a quarter mile, by adjusting your speed 4 miles an hour, will shave 1 minute at expected time off. So I think if it's explained that way, I'm sure it has been in the past, and a lot of people they forget it. It's just practical drift. So trying to get that back into the line it needs to be in is what we're currently working on. And I mean, we're seeing the numbers. It's slow, but it's in the direction that we need to be moving.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a component to it, the schedules themselves. So as you mentioned, there are specific stops that are actually the ones that are adhered to measure the on-time performance. And that's something we're working on for June, to right size some of those routes to improve their, where the stop locations are, and also how much time they have to get there. Because there are some stops where you have too much time. There are some stops where you don't have enough time. And so we're trying to right size some of those routes for this next service change. If you guys recall, a few months ago, the board approved a software for us called Swiftly, and that software is allowing us to have analytics for that information to help us, make those decisions moving forward.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jumping to paratransit. You're gonna go.
You can. Definitely.
So.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, I got it done. So for our care service, just looking at the past 3 months, their staffing levels right now are pretty consistent. They had a reduction in their staffing. Stefan, I don't know if you can speak on the reductions you had in staffing.
Staffing, majority of them were typically resignation to go to marketing, or voluntary for the Tron device, but, tires, we do have a strong market in this Richmond location. The only things that was, and then not to come in is majority of their background, or not passing a drug test. And that's pretty much it. The staffing and saturation.
And then they've consistently met our target of 92% with their on-time performance. So strong performance by them compared to at least the past 2 years. So they continue to perform there. Our ridership is also shown here for the past 3 months, an increase, especially after the winter season. And I think you're tracking towards that number still in April, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the goal is to be 125 to be service delivery. Right now, we are currently at 107 still. We do have 2 classes, one currently now and one next week. That'll give a total of 6, but it really depends if you want to stick through. Majority of them does drop once they see the bidding. But we do be transparent as soon as they come into class, make sure they know like how the bidding is set up, kind of schedule we're gonna be looking at once they graduate, and to see if they're gonna, pull through or they're gonna drop before the 3 weeks.
So they have similar, staffing situations as Fixed Ride as well. So, Catherine.
So we have established or reestablished the Care Advisory Council. We call them the CAC meetings. They started back up in October was our first, and in January we had 20 plus attendees come in. All of the board members were present, minus I think one attended virtually. And we went over paratransit policies such as the carry-on policy to address the number of bags or the amount of bags that are allowed on the vehicles per trip. And we also talked about the no-show policy and went over that and the late cancellations. We had a presentation by user on our Care on Demand service, and GRTC's travel trainer Kelsey came and talked to them about our travel training program. So to talk about microtransit, our link service, you can see that even through the winter weather, we were still consistently out there. It was a little bit of it looked a little different just because of the ice and snow, the road conditions. We really kind of had to stick to the main roads through that week and a half of snow and ice. But as you can see, we bounced back in March, and in April, we're still continuing to increase.
That's a year.
Year-to-date ridership, we're up. You can see that we have an 8.65% increase over 2025. Our 3 busiest areas are still Ashland, Azalea, and Sandston. Sandston has really, even after we expanded, I believe that area was expanded late summer. It has really, the demand has really increased out in Sandston. We have 2 vehicles in all 3 zones, but they are definitely our most popular. We're seeing an increase also in Cloverdale. Recently, this past month, we had a big increase in Cloverdale, and then also in Broad Rock. After the fixed route changes in Broad Rock, we've seen a little bit of an increase there also. Powhatan, we've seen a slight increase in usage out there. I do believe that the residents out there are liking the pre-booking feature. We've had 19 users pre-book. We were able to actually 100% we were able to get 100% of those rides on, those that didn't cancel or no show on us. But they've taken advantage of the pre-booking. We've had 228 rides pre-booked since the end of January. And of course, this started the day that it iced. We had the ice storm. So I take away a week and a half of that time. 184 of those trips were completed, 44 were canceled or the rider no showed. But we've seen an increase also in the demand out there. We've seen our seats unavailable increase a little bit. That kind of gives us an idea of who's wanting to move. And we are able to, we weren't able to get to them, but we can see that the demand is there. And we couldn't get to them because seats were filled. So we're excited about that.
What is, you said, the no-show policy, what is, just big picture, what's the no-show policy looking like now? What does that look like to the user that doesn't show? What does that policy look like?
They, after a certain number of no-shows, and I would have to go back to look at it right offhand, but I believe that it is a percentage of the trips that they take within a period of time. We get a report out of VIA, and then they are suspended for, they get a written warning first, and then they get a 3-day suspension, 3 service day suspension. They get plenty of notice. It's written notice. They have the option to appeal. And then if they continue to no show, then that increases, that level of suspension increases.
Is that policy sort of internally drawn, or is that based on sort of industry standards? Because candidly, no-show policies like that tend to be very wrist slappy and don't really deter somebody that much unless they quick results and can't ride. But on the same hand, some of these people are needing it for medical or whatever it might be. I'm just trying to understand the balance of, because when you say Powhatan no-shows, that sounds expensive.
Yes. Now for Link, the Link no-show policy we just implemented, and we just are starting to look at that. We put it out on the buses, and that is very different than our paratransit no-show policy. The paratransit no-show policy is regulated by ADA. There are only certain things that we can do. There are things, rules and regulations that we have to
My
follow
mind
with
was on
that.
Powhatan, so.
Yeah. So you're exactly right. And that's why we are addressing it. We recently pushed through a no-show policy for our Link, and that looks very different. And it is more immediate. It's within a 30-day period. And I think that we went to 3 no-shows, I believe it was, in a 30-day period, and they're suspended for 3 days. So it is not a wrist smacking. It is an immediate. And we have seen, just started tracking it because we just put out the policy information on the buses, probably March, the first week of March, something like that. And we have seen a slight decrease in it. We've also focused on, we pull the report and we see those that are habitually no-showing, and we are sending them text messages through the app, letting them know, pay attention to the no-show policy because this is now in effect. Contact us if you have any questions. We put it on the website also, and our operators are also talking about it. So we've really kind of made, especially in the Powhatan area, because those no-shows, like you said, can be a little bit more expensive. And so while we only had, we had 44 over the course of, 3 months, it still can be expensive. And so those in Powhatan, we are directly targeting by pulling that report and sending them text messages directly or calling them. We've actually even called a couple of people.
This is all cell number, phone number linked. Is that our access to them, or is it like full registration and all that? I mean, it's like, it's easy to communicate with these people with these warnings.
Yes, it is through the app. Of course, it's a little bit it can be a little bit trickier with those that don't use the app. Then they call in through, they can also call through the agents to book a ride. Then we just call the number that we have them registered or their account.
So with the Powhatan sign, just a different perspective. I think what get your attention is you miss it first, that's as a warning. You miss it a second time, you're out for 30 days. So
Yeah.
because that it's pretty simple. We know people forget, we know people, but once you've done it a second time, there's
Right.
some just sloppiness here that's costing us.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why we noticed that the cancellation and the no-show was increasing a bit. I think that you find this, and I've talked to other, other agencies, when it's fare free, we find it's a lot more, you see this a lot more. You see the habitual cancellations and no-shows.
So right now, there's no fee,
No,
no fee. How are we in regards to costs versus, actual revenue to pay for the full service?
Costs for each trip
This, service is
or operating costs.
costing us a lot more than,
for length.
For like the route replacements, this is more expensive.
No, just in general, what's the operating cost of like one trip of like,
Oh,
I don't have to pull it up.
Currently, it's a grant, being funded with a grant.
mhm.
I believe it's comparable to paratransit. Didn't we, wasn't it still like between 70 and 75?
You said that while you were talking about, I think, Powhatan, that you weren't able to give some, while internet's looking, sorry. Is it okay if I ask this question? You were saying that people called to get a ride, but the vehicle was full?
Yes, not necessarily full, but there's only one bus in Powhatan covering a 262 square mile area. And
A bus and not the little sedan.
we use the minivan.
Mhm.
We use the minivan.
You have like 3 vehicle sizes?
We do. We have the EVs, we have the minivans, and then we have the body on chassis. But because of the distance to the zone and the traveling within the zone and the distance back to yard, we're unable to use the EVs in that area. And the minivans are, because we use the VOCs are natural gas and they have to fuel up here at yard, we have to use the minivans out in that area. And so that limits us on seating capacity, but also the trip distance per trip in Powhatan. I think the average in March was 12 miles one way. And that was a 20-minute trip, a 20-minute duration one way. So if you have somebody going to the north end of Powhatan and somebody at the south end requests a trip, that south end trip is going to be non-accommodated, even though they forecast out for 90 minutes. They'll look at the 90-minute schedule for 90 minutes to say, we can't get you now, but we could get you in 45 minutes or 55 minutes, something like that.
so it's, not to circumvent any additional dialogue, but Ms. Jones and I do have to leave this meeting at a specific time to get back downtown at 2:00. And so the questions that we're asking, I want to make sure that we probably, if it's critical to this report, that we know what those things are, but just general information of understanding all of the logistics of the operation. If we can, if we don't feel that's essential as it relates to that, that'll help us kind of get through. We still got quite a bit of agenda in front of us.
Yeah.
At the pace we're going, we're not gonna get out of here until 3:30. I'm trying to move that forward. And so the question I'm asking as it relates to the budget, and I think that it's important that we know that because for all of the services that we are providing, that is, they are free, right? There is revenue sources that cover the cost. And some appreciation for whether or not the operational costs versus on the source of funding that we're getting is meeting that expectation, covering that budget request, would be important to know because as we move forward with making additional decision as it relates to fares and whether or not we're going to continue, and I don't know what conditions and so forth, I think being able to monitor that as we go through this, at least with the budget part of the discussion would be helpful as well, okay? And you may not have it right now from me today, but that's what I think would be valuable going forward, okay? All right?
I'm going to customer service real quick. Don't be shy.
Good afternoon again, everyone. So for customer service, looking at the router comments and how everything's trending, for last month, did okay in most of the categories, but there were a couple of areas where there were increases such as passed up passenger and no-show. And doing a deeper dive for the passed up passenger complaints, some of those were like if the bus stop was down and it wasn't up and it was an operator who wasn't familiar with the route, maybe driving it because someone was out sick or whatever the case may be, not as familiar, so passed up the stop. Some of it is also operator errors as far as not scanning ahead and paying closer attention to who's in the stop, or even assuming that because someone is in the stop and sitting down, they're not going to catch the bus kind of thing. And then, of course, the no-shows were operational challenges, operators marking off and that type of thing there too. So all in all, those were the two categories that increased a little bit. And of course, now that I'm over in transportation, working with the bus operations managers as far as making sure that we follow up with these operators to address those issues, and take, certain steps to make sure it doesn't recur with the same operators or periods. Those are definitely areas that we don't want to see, or all of these are, but we don't want to pass up people who are waiting on and depending on our service to get them to where they need to go. And yeah, for the also 10 commendations, which I'll touch on those in just a moment as well.
And the no-shows? That means the bus didn't show?
Correct. Again, if there was no operator, I'm sorry.
At the designated time.
Correct. And it's also a case where there was no operator. If they marked off and there's no one to cover that particular block or schedule. Yeah.
That's why it's important for us to tag team that with cancellations that showed in the beginning.
And then for the microtransit link division, if you were, everything was pretty quiet as usual in that particular division, with there being the one for improper operation of a vehicle or equipment. And forgive me, but I can't recall right at the top of my head what that one was for, as well as a commendation, one commendation for that that division. And
so for paratransit, apologies for the difference in the chart here. We have to go back and review the data here, but we do have the totals here of the verified feedback that we get, the verified complaints. So year-to-date comparison, we're seeing 55 around this time frame right now compared to, I'm sorry, we had 81. We have 81 now, and we had 55 last year around this time. So of total received complaints. And so the verified ones are on the left here. On January, we had 5 verified, 10 in February, and 21 in March. And that could be for a variety of reasons that we'll have to get that information from our contractor for.
And this is the part I wanted to brag about a little bit with the commendations. We had beautiful commendations for the month. As you can see here, some of that was captured. The first one speaking to the service overall, it was very touching to me. You know, the customer thanking us for what we do and how they've gone through a rough period of time, so they appreciate the service overall. And you just never know what difference you're making in somebody's day. That's why it's so important for that bus to show up, because people have enough going on, and you don't want to have to worry about, are you going to be able to get to work or to an appointment or to the store and so forth. And also a big shout out to the customer service team. One of our customers was thanking the entire customer service department, and even sent in some treats to be shared amongst the team. So everyone was excited about that. Another one I thought was very nice to highlight was, this driver needs flowers. She is awesome. And sometimes we don't give people their flowers often enough to acknowledge when they do a great job. And then this was the one I was speaking of earlier, this last one about the app, and for the customer being able to look at the app, saw that the trip was canceled. And so she said she was very appreciative because she has a 3-year-old and didn't want to stand outside and wait too long for a bus that wasn't coming. So then she was able to make the adjustment, stay inside a little longer. And even when she made the call, you could hear the 3-year-old talking in the background, but she was just really excited that we were able to provide that information and she could make a better decision. And that's really important too, especially when there's inclement conditions. It could be raining, or it's cold, or it's really hot, or whatever the case may be. Although we want the bus to be out there, of course, when we share that information, customers are able to make different arrangements or make adjustments accordingly. So they're not waiting and not knowing what's happening with the bus. So that's a little shout out to our disruption management system and those individuals who make sure that information is updated in real time.
Excellent.
And yep, and that's it. Did y'all have any additional questions? No? All right, yes, indeed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to go over the annual public safety review. I know everybody's pressed for time, so I'm going to make it brief as possible, but you can work the slides. This is just, like I said, a brief overview of the actual public service officers and what we're doing. The program that we started back in February of 2025, and it's been a full year. We're extremely impressed with everything, the feedback that we're getting from the community. As you can see, we had a total instance of 751 that the PSO program responded to. There's a wide variety of programs. They see a lot of stuff out there, but if you looked at it, the last one, life-saving Narcan reversals, we've had 5 documented. These people are actually out there saving lives. We see them at the PS, we see it at the DTS, we've seen it at the routes on different buses and everything. So they're definitely making an impact, and we're proud of the results that we're getting from that.
Is those Narcan dispensers located?
Yeah, we have one, closest one here is over at Southside Plaza, but we do have them throughout the area in the region here in local service area as well.
But they have some on them too.
They also have some on them, but what we're finding is it's more convenient just to go to the local ones that they have. We have contacts with Department of Health and things of that nature, and they're telling us where to go and where to get them, so they're making them real convenient for everyone. Again, this is just a brief overview of the type of calls that they're responding to. As you can see, August 2025 was our peak month. Summertime, that's usually traditional time that we have the verbal disputes, the trespassing, the loitering, as well as December, when we start to see the unsheltered come into locations, riding the bus, want to ride the bus for the heat and everything of that nature. Also, we started doing the escorts, where we have the PSOs escorting the unsheltered. That was a huge success because it made the operators feel a little bit more safe. But believe it or not, we've gotten responses back from the actual people that are being transported on how they feel safer out there to have the escort going from one shelter to another. So that's been a real good feedback from us.
How does that operate?
So how does the unsheltered? The transport?
Yeah, the ESCO bus.
So when, I'm sorry, say it again? Oh, so basically when we get a call from the actual shelter location. They go into dispatch a bus, call a bus. They also contact one of our PSOs, and our PSOs will meet them at the bus, load the bus, and escort that bus to the other shelter where it drop off.
Does this give us any information by geographic locations where you're getting most of this activity?
No, I mean, so far as the actual calls overall, we see a lot of it at the DTS, at the downtown transfer station. We have 2 actual officers that are there from the time we open up, at the time we start service in the morning, to the time we end it at night. So the majority of this stuff that we see is coming from the DTS, downtown transfer station. But we do have officers that are patrolling routes that are going to bus situations on the actual ride to assistance too. But by far, yeah, most of this is coming from the DTS. This is just another overall incident type graph that we have. As you again can see, August 25 is the peak month, and then followed up by December in the wintertime. And a lot of this, like I said, is trespass warnings, removals, a lot of situations. Luckily, the PSOs are able to de-escalate and take care of without getting police involvement, but we do have situations where we do have to call police, especially if weapons and things of that nature are involved. But those are far few in between. But we have an excellent team that's very big on de-escalating and just issuing warnings and removing people from the location to de-escalate the problem so that we can keep operations going. Again, it's just a summary of the trends that we're seeing. Basically, you can see that the August months and the winter months, in January, December, are the busy months.
So what gives you the rise in the winter months?
Again, it's the people loitering. That's where we're seeing the unhoused coming to the DTS. We've had a couple situations where they set up camp down there. So that's what was driving that, and the PSOs are responding to that and moving them, moving them on or moving them off the property. Again, we're not trying to create a lot of problems for different individuals. We're trying to keep things going, and the PSO program is assisted with that. And it's less burden on the police department. We know they've got a lot going on. So this internal organization that we have working for us has assisted with that tremendously.
Okay. That information be valuable to us in the city because we are seriously looking at how we manage and support homelessness. And so I think collectively looking at all of the different types of database that is available to us, not only you guys, but certainly what you all are experiencing as well would be helpful in helping us to redefine the best method for services.
Absolutely.
We'll get with you on
Yeah,
that.
we have reports monthly, so we can collect put that data together. All right. Again, total overall calls, distribution of the type of calls, medical, verbal, physical fights, conflicts. So we, like I said, we see it all, but kudos to the actual team because they do a lot with the de-escalation. We push that 100% here. We can talk somebody down and move the situation along so that we can continue on with operations to get everybody as safely transported as possible. That's what we are pushing.
And going back real quick to the unhoused, we also had our paratransit team at We Drive You also assist us with that transportation the entire winter. And so we actually have that data available as well of how many persons that we transported as well. But it was, Stephanie, it was weekly, wasn't it? No. Yeah.
Well, majority of them go on the weekend.
Weekend.
This is one of our officers, and this is just the overall summary and vision, why it matters, build confidence and trust, reinforce safety protocols, provide proactive and responsive support. Overall, what we're trying to do is provide a support to the actual community, make them feel as safe as possible. And kudos to the executive team here at GRTC. They see that need, and they've done an excellent job. Anything I need so far as support for that. They provided that to us. So that's what it's about. We're just trying to create a presence out there to make sure that the community is as safe as possible. Public safety ambassadors, same thing, real quick. This is our team. We're looking to add one more to the team. She's going to start the 27th of April, but they take their job extremely serious. They are very confident about it, especially the one, a couple of them there, they're very serious about it, even right down to when they're down in the lobby telling people not to badge in, not to let people in. They go through the whole nine on how important it is to be safe and be secure here at the property. So, and what we're trying to do is, like I said, with this program, it's about community engagement, making sure that they're out there showing the presence. And they're extremely serious about doing that. Overview of, again, public safety ambassadors support the community safety engagement and assist in public spaces. And they do a great job, especially when it comes to customer service and conflict resolution. Just showing the presence out there and being available goes a long way with our passengers and the people that are riding and using our systems. And we've gotten tremendous feedback over the year since they've been in establishment. And this is just an overview of the calls that they get. If you look at assist passengers, that's what we want. We want to see those numbers. We want to see them assisting the passengers. Again, hot month is August. We have a lot of people riding the system. We have a lot of people that are new to the area. They're asking questions, and the public safety ambassadors are out there answering those questions, and that's what we're looking for so far as giving assistance and giving guidance to where they need to go. And again, this is just the measurable impact of August and the different months that we had. We're seeing that, of course, August is the hottest month of the year. That's when we have the most people out there asking questions, things of that nature. And, you know, just some things that they're doing so far as emergency services needed, dispatch calls. This is just an overview of what they're doing and how they're assisting individuals when they're Another one that's extremely serious about his job. This picture actually came from a situation where it was a life-saving event. It involved him, one of our PSOs, one of our operators, and dispatch making good common calls, acting in an efficient manner, and we were able to save the person's life actually on the bus. It wasn't Narcan, it was actually a cardiac arrest. And by them getting the people there, getting everything situated and assisted, we were able to save that person's life. So, yeah. And this is just another accommodation for that individual that we just saw. Just the experience changed the person's mind. She had some issues, but after meeting him and talking with him and understanding what it was about, she was safe, and just wanted to let us know how much she appreciated everything. And that's my quick overview of everything. So often when I stand before all of you, I presenting bad news, but it's a good privilege to be able to talk about good things. So
I gave the bad news for you.
yeah, good. So any questions, any concerns, issues, things?
Any special efforts being put in place to get prepared for August is coming.
We have crisis intervention, and we do have trainings coming up for the PSOs as well as the PSA. So yeah, we're looking for different measures.
Not many companies that know they can.
Exactly. Yeah.
If we can train the society,
that would help as well. All right. Thank you.
that concludes our presentation. Any questions related to anything we went through? We good on time?
No. Air plus changes, public safety. Okay. That's it. Any other board members, any other questions, comments? We still got good time. If there's any additional questions?
You still got to sign a bunch of stuff as a secretary. You still have to sign a bunch of stuff as a secretary. So we probably need like 41 minutes of your time.
All right, well, good. Yes.
I noticed in the packet, facility paving as a consent item, which seems, does that kind of fall under operations or is that development?
It's development. You just had the full board review in your packet, so you have everything that's gonna go to the full board.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
This one here, it's care plus changes.
Yeah.
And the
Opposite the. Yeah. Button. Yeah.
we're gonna do one more. Care plus changes.
Yes.
Agents will do care plus changes. Oh, sorry.
Toward each other.
There you
So this is an update, tagging in Kevin, who had done the study with WSP on looking at our current paratransit model and just looking at things that we can improve in the short term and long term, as well as looking a lot at our software. One thing that had come out was we have a premium service that is called Care Plus, which is pretty much the greater Henrico County. And that is not, so our, just a background, the care is what is federally required within 3/4 of a mile of any fixed route. And so that is something that we are required to do, but anything beyond that, which we do have in the greater Henrico County, is not federally required to do. So all of that is currently covered under paratransit. So with that, we have proposed, we went back to analyze the impact to the actual riders and all that to, we have also have Care on Demand, which is an Uber version. It's a U-Serve is who we have contracted with, and you can more a day of book that trip, which is the model that Access Chesterfield uses as their whole system. I'm quoting that correctly. We have that as well. So what we're going to do is we want to merge our Care Plus, which is all of Henrico County, with our Care on Demand. Right now, I'm going to say number, it's about $44-ish per trip for a paratransit service versus the roughly like $18 per trip for our U-Serve Care on Demand. So shifting those individuals over to the Care on Demand model is the recommendation for an efficiency as well as a cost savings. But with that, we are also looking at changing, and we did a little bit of regional, and Chesterfield's kind of leading that effort, having a change also within our base fare associated with that. I'm going to always say it backwards. It is $6 for the first 7 miles. There's the opposite. $7. I always say it backwards. $7 for 6 miles. Chesterfield just changed, so it's $10 within the boundary and $15 outside the boundary. We are looking at doing a little different because we don't have a boundary. So it'd be distance based. So we're looking at coming up to a proposal for a distance based that would be, again, the $10 and the $15 model, going after following what Chesterfield has done. So just wanted to bring it to you as what we're moving forward with. We'll bring an official recommendation next board meeting. But the impact was more so on, it shifts those individuals from paying, right now it's zero fare. For them, they would now have to pay just like the other Care on Demand individuals do today. Questions with that?
This is kind of fit in with Hanover and their recent letter.
Their cost associated with their program. Yeah, their model, they have $5, I think is what they pay. Their model, they U-Serve in that, but yes, their cost they shared with us was like 100,000, now has, sorry, is that right? It increased up to like 1 million and something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So ours has increased from, it was around 7 million for the service, and has increased up to almost like 11. That's because we have a very large footprint, and with the zero fare, it really has expanded.
So countywide paratransit in Henrico is 11 million.
No, that's all of paratransit. No. I mean, that also includes, just like with us, operator salary changes have shifted in time
But the extra services is an extra charge to the locality that is providing the extra care.
It would be to the individual. And we did discuss, so I did some research. Chesterfield does a federal poverty level consideration for the service as well. So we are exploring, maybe we'll do that because I mean, comparing it to like a wheelchair accessible Uber vehicle, them paying the amount that I just said versus paying for that out of pocket, it's highly subsidized. So it is very different. But actually putting a limit to it, because if you can't afford it, you could afford that Uber wheelchair accessible vehicle.
Are we concerned that there are challenges for those that are now no fare? Was this extra service, and their ability to pay?
Yes, and that is why we held off before about coming forward to realize we wanted to analyze the impact to the actual individuals first. I think that just looking at the models, and yes, there could be an impact, but again, it's at this point, a business decision for a premium service that is not federally required. Now, Chesterfield pays for all of their service, and we will get over the framework model that we had talked about earlier. That is in there, and it does identify that would, of course, be a local service. So that would be up to Henrico County if that framework is adopted and we move towards that model, if they wanted to subsidize that as access Chesterfield to Chesterfield as for access for Chesterfield. Yeah, I think it was like a 15% 85% recommendation under the new framework for Henrico County.
But the framework is speaking to new or expanded service. So
It is, but I dropped, just like I said, I just dropped all of the stuff in there, like current service, just to see where it would fit in the breakdown. So that just gives you a categorized, even though that stuff is grandfathered in, I just still did the categorization to see what we already have, what is considered regional versus local. Again, that's why we held off, because it is a premium service. That's up to us, the board, to just like, we'll come to you for an actual recommendation. Should this premium service actually be a charged premium service?
Expectations is that it'll help with the costs associated with our paratransit contractor as well.
Right.
It's over budget every year.
Right. And efficiency as far as like service delivery, they'll be able to put the resources towards the ADA required versus the premium service.
Okay. No action required of the committee at this time.
No information.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Wait, you good?
Somebody gotta make a motion to adjourn.
I moved to adjourn. I've been outside since 8 o'clock. What's it said?
No new business.
Are we done adjourned?
All right.
Got seconds to adjourn.
All righty, thank you very much.
You gotta stay to sign some stuff.
No, Joey's